Hey people, this episode of WTF is sponsored by Stamps.com. Go to Stamps.com and type in WTF when you click the radio microphone to start a no-risk trial and get a bonus offer worth $110. That's Stamps.com. Enter WTF. Do it.
Lock the gate!
Are we doing this? Really? Wait for it. Are we doing this? Wait for it. How?
What the fuck?
WTF.
And it's also, what the fuck?
What's wrong with me? It's time for WTF.
What the fuck?
With Mark Maron.
Okay, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers? What the fuck buddies? What the fucking ears? What the fuck nicks? What the fuck Lahomans? There you go, my Oklahoma friend. What the fuck Lahomans? There it is. This is WTF. I am Mark Maron. How are you? I am just back from Oklahoma, and I mean just like this morning, just back from Oklahoma. But I got to be honest with you, had a great time, great crowds, and I got a list of 2 or 3 things here, maybe even 4, that I can scratch off my bucket list. And that is a phrase I've never said in my life. And quite honestly, it aggravates me when people say it. I guess I can scratch that off the bucket list. Who the fuck even knew what a bucket list was until that dumb movie came out? I didn't. I don't have a bucket list, but I surprised myself. You know what? I think I'm doing some sort of inverted bucket list, which is where I do things and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't think I'd ever do that before I died. I'm not even sure I wanted to. So I guess that goes on a different list. It's not a bucket list. It's a, holy fuck, I did that. Surprise. Don't know if I'm going to do that again. List. Is there a name for that? Is that just a life list? It doesn't matter. Look, Big Jay Oakerson is on the show. Lovely guy, funny comic, great stories. You're going to enjoy that conversation. I sure as shit did. God, I'm full of the profanity today. Full of the fucking profanity today. Couple of things I want to get out of the way before we get into things. My Oklahoma experience. Yeah, I had several Oklahoma experiences. I will preface it by saying that something happened on stage that has never happened before in my life, and I smelled something I'd never smelled before in my life. If you're still having trouble with the new app, the app update and the new app, please email me at WTFpod@gmail.com, and I'll make sure it gets to where it needs to go. Your issue. I personally can't handle it because I don't have any fucking idea how to handle that stuff. I'm full of the fucks today. The music on today's show is by the Dancehall Pimps. Their new album is Beast of Love on Lakeshore Records. You can check them out at dancehallpimps.com or Dancehall Pimps on Facebook. So go do that because they jam. They do it. They rock. Oklahoma City. Thank you. Can I just say that genuinely from my heart? Oklahoma City. I went to Oklahoma City to do 2 shows. We sold out the first show. We added a second show. Is that a humble brag? No, that's a fucking brag. Okay? But I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't been to Oklahoma in a long time. I'd driven through there several times growing up. I lived in New Mexico, but Oklahoma is not New Mexico, man. Oklahoma is Oklahoma. And I wasn't nervous. I was excited. I was curious about what Oklahoma City was like. And on the bright side, I had less than 12 hours in Oklahoma City. That's not to be condescending. It's not to shit on anyone's state or anyone's city, but I was in and out, and we had a few things that I wanted to get done. So I get there and everything's cool. I was a little freaked out, flew on a small plane, got under the clouds. You know, when you're flying into a city, there's that moment where you're like, well, this is exciting. I can see it. Literally flying into Oklahoma City, all I saw on the ground was some sort of mud-colored pond and a series of ditches. And I thought, wow, is this going to get better? I hope this gets better. I hope this isn't the tone of the entire city of Oklahoma City, but it was good. I got off the plane. I'd done some research. I was going to Leo's Barbecue. I saw it on diners, drive-ins, and dives. Look, I don't love, what's his name? Guy Fieri. No, he's obnoxious, but I think he eats well. Not in the sense that I consider him healthy, that when I'm watching the cooking channel, the Food Network, when a dude takes a bite of food and he gets that look on his face, you want that to pay off. You want people to eat good and eat well, and you want to see it on their fucking face on the Food Network. And Guy Fieri, man, when he puts a bite of something in his mouth, you believe that shit. So I saw it on diners, drive-ins, and dives, and I'm looking for Leo's, and I got the address, and this kid, Spencer Hicks, comic in Oklahoma, picks me up at the airport. I'm like, dude, I got 2 hours. We got 2 hours. You got to find this place, Leo's. So he looks it up on his phone. It takes us to the old address. All right. It's this beat up old shithole. And it says, and on the door, it says Leo's is now at this address. So I put that into my GPS. And if I can reiterate, fuck GPSs on your phones. They do nothing but cause trouble. They don't know where the fuck they're going. And they've caused me aggravation. They're liars. They're liars. I had done the research at home already where this place was, but I don't know Oklahoma City, so I put it on the GPS. We ended up driving 45 fucking minutes out to the middle of nowhere and this guy lived there, but he'd never even been to where we were. He'd lived there his whole life, didn't know where the hell we were, driving down this street until it just turns into nothing. You know, it was one of those moments where I'm like, hey, you know, I had a plan, and in my mind, the plan went perfectly. We would have been eating barbecue right now at this cool place where this black dude has been doing it since his dad did it, and the whole family works there, and it's going to be groovy. But all of a sudden, I'm driving out, and it's just plains of dirt, and I'm like, there is no black dude out here with a barbecue smoker. Okay? Something went wrong. But here's the thing. One thing I didn't realize that was going to happen for me in my life. A little something happened. I didn't realize it. And I have to embrace it, even though it may sound like something you wouldn't embrace. We're driving down the highway. There's a huge factory just making smoke in the sky. And I said to Spencer, I said, what is that? He said, that's a dog food factory. And I said, really? What dog food? And he said, Purina. And I said, is that the main Purina factory for dog food? He said, I don't think so. Didn't matter, because what happened next was I realized that the smell I was smelling that was unavoidable was the smell of freshly cooking dog food and everything that horrible smell represents. But there is that weird moment where you're like, oh, that's what that is. That's very exciting. No, it's not. It's horses and cats and things they find dead on the highway, boiled in a vat and ground up and remixed to give to your poochie. Not a great smell, but an experience I had. So then, after an hour of me, this poor kid, Spencer Hicks, picks me up. He's excited to hang out with me, which I always find interesting. I'm barely excited to hang out with me. And an hour into not being able to find this barbecue place, I'm in this guy's truck going, what the fuck? Where the fuck are we going? The GPS says it's here. And he's looking at me like he doesn't live there. And I'm like, you fucking live here. I've only got 40 minutes now. So now I'm not making a good impression on him, and I'm apologizing profusely. Sorry, I didn't want you to see this. You didn't need to see this part of me, but I had a plan. I got to be somewhere at 4:30 in your city to do a thing that I've never done before. So we get to the barbecue place. We had like 10 minutes. 10 minutes for them to get the food out and for me to shove it down my face. And there is 4 people working at that place. There were 3 people waiting for food and a couple people waiting for to-go orders, and they were in the weeds. It was slow motion land, but that happens. It was a beautiful barbecue place. It was classic. It was beat up. It was weird. It was picnic tables, red and white plastic covered tablecloths. The ribs were great. They had a big old vat of greens. You could help yourself. Awesome. Had ribs, had smoked brisket, had links, and on the plate, smoked bologna. Number 2. Thing I didn't think I would ever have a need for experiencing in my life, I did in Oklahoma City. So let's look at the list. I smelled cooking dog food, and I ate smoked bologna, which arguably could be the human equivalent of dog food, but it was smoked. Okay, that's out of the way. So now I got to get to the hotel to do the third thing I never thought I would do in my life, which is hang out with Wayne Coyne of the Flaming Lips. We had a fucking great time. He came to the show later, and this brings us to the fourth thing. Came to my second show. This is something that has never happened to me. I'm performing in a small theater. It's a performance art theater, so it's got some class to it. It's set up like a theater. Nice big stage, well-spaced seats. It was the second show, which can always get weird because there's no time limit to what you can do generally, and the audience is a little punchy. The first show is going to be funnier and tighter, but the second show is going to be weirder and better. For me, the performer. Hi, how are you? My name's Mark Maron. So before I get on stage, I'm walking around the side of the building through puddles to get to the backstage door where someone had delivered an immense cheese tray that was smelling out the entire backstage. It was that good a cheese. And I walk by a couple who's outside, and they're in the dark, and I hear this woman look at me and goes, oh, it's him? Oh, it's him. You're the guy. Oh, my God. And right away, I'm like, I don't want them in there. Obviously that's a little strong, but I realize that we're going to have a little alcohol issue here. I knew the tone. I knew the possibility of the problem the tone could possibly lead to. I've been doing this a long time. And sure enough, the first guy gets on stage and he's doing his shit and I'm hearing the woo! And I'm like, we've got a fucking wooer. Now, I think I've expressed my feelings about wooing. It's unnecessary. It's usually a woman wooing. I can see through a woo with my mind. I orally can differentiate between a woo, because a woo either means woo is like woo, and that can be look at me. That's usually what's under that, or woo, help. Both usually women, and that is what's being expressed in those woos, or it's the predictable element of the weird Pavlovian expression of excitement that is unnecessary. So we got a wooer up front, and I'm fine. I'm listening. I'm saying, how drunk is she? What's going on? This is going to be okay. Turns out she's a fan of mine, and whatever. It's fine. Second show, I don't mind doing a little crowd stuff. So I get on stage. I do my thing. We have a pretty good show. I actually had excellent shows. I'm 5 minutes away from closing my show, and this woman sitting up front with her dude is talking. There's a problem. They're not watching the show. I'm in the middle of a bit that I happen to have my hand in the flip out position for, and I actually turn towards them and I say, please shut the fuck up for 5 minutes. I'm 5 minutes away from finishing. 5 minutes. Shut the fuck up, please. It gets awkward for a minute, but then she just says, I need a ride home. I can't get a ride home. I'm like, what's the matter? I can't get a ride home. He's not going to give me a ride home. And now there's this couple clearly in the middle of some bullshit. So I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, I don't know, but I guess I don't have a ride home. And then it just sort of starts to unfold, and the guy's pissed off about something, and I'm like, what are you pissed off about? And she said, well, he was gone, and I'm like, oh, that's right, you left, and I fucked her on stage in front of everybody, and we all promised we weren't going to tell you, but I guess she couldn't keep her big mouth shut. Funny enough, filthy crowd work, no problem, got big laughs, but then it doesn't stop, and there seems to be a genuine problem in the room. And I asked him, I said, how often do you guys go through this fucking drama with this shit? How long you been dating each other? And the guy's like 3 years. I'm like, oh, this happens all the time. But here's what ultimately happens. I start talking to them, and she said that he was gone. When he was gone, some dude came and sat next to her. He came back from being out in the lobby during the show. This is all happening during my show. Unbeknownst to me, some dude had hit on her in the middle of my show. Her dude left. Some dude in the room went over there and sat next to her. He came back, and that dude was sitting next to her, and it started all kinds of shit. So I find this out, and then all of a sudden, the dude who did it says, it was me. So now that dude's there, and I got the pissed off dude there, and this girl in the middle, of course, enjoying all this drama, and now I'm povitching. All of a sudden, I'm povitching. I'm povitching a situation. I had to deliberate the situation. I had to mend the tension between the men and sort of call her out for inviting this attention and not setting it straight because she liked being the center of attention. And that she clearly had her own issues, and they had issues as a couple. Then the dude who hit on her, he got up and walked out, and I said, that's a good call. It was all very odd. But I think this goes to prove my point that woo means both look at me and help. Okay, let's dip into the mailbag. The mailbag, sponsored by Stamps.com. Subject line, you had a cameo in a dream I just had, and I know I'm supposed to email you about that. Really, it was a dream where I was hanging out with Walter Koenig, except I kept calling him John Delancey, which was weird because I knew he was Walter Koenig because I had a bunch of questions about Babylon 5. And then for a brief moment, he turned into you and got real serious and looked at me and said, Tom, I'm not John Delancey, I'm Walter Koenig. But I swear to God it was you when he said that. Not a lot happened except for you getting the honor of joining a morphing cast member of a Star Trek dream. Well, thanks, James. Pleasure to be there. Hey, you know that Stamps.com sponsors this show sometimes, and you also know that your time is valuable, and maybe you shouldn't spend hours waiting online at the post office, getting frustrated with the people in front of you, wondering, is she paying for stamps with nickels? because you can get postage the second you need it. You don't need to pay for it with nickels. You can do it right from your desk with Stamps.com. I have a pretty busy schedule. I was in Oklahoma yesterday. I'm on the road a lot. So for me, it makes sense to use Stamps.com. I can print postage for any letter or package from my home computer and printer, and then I just give it to the mail guy, who I don't know anymore. It's a new guy. They seem to be changing up a lot. He seems like a nice guy. Don't know him, but I do give him my Stamps.com stamped letters and packages. So, look, as always, Stamps.com has a special offer to my listeners. A no-risk trial plus $55 in free postage and a free digital scale. Just use my promo code WTF. So don't wait on this. Do it now. Go to Stamps.com. Before you do anything else, click on the radio microphone at the top of the homepage and type in WTF. That's Stamps.com. Enter WTF. So you really think that the chicks, that guys were threatened by Steve-O?
They're just threatened by, because like the thing is like they don't see what he does as any kind of like a major talent. I think he hurts himself. But I had an affection for Steve-O because he makes me laugh.
Those guys do have humility, though.
They do. But what he was in the stories he was telling on stage, that's what it lacked, and that's what I talked to him about. I was like, because he's telling stories. He goes, "Yeah, 3 girls. I meet these 3 girls, and they say they all want to suck my dick, and so I bring them back to my suite at the Four Seasons, and everything." I go, you're losing the guys here. Like the guys just like you got to tell them, like, you almost have to present these stories where it's like, and I'm in the Four Seasons, like, why? I have no idea. Like I'm just a shithead who jams things up his ass. But he's not. He's leaving that part of it out. He's telling it more from the angle.
Oh,
of
that's
like,
funny. So that was your saying is like do more about the part that like it's ridiculous that you even have a career.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like oh, you puke.
Yeah.
You like swallow fish and puke them back up, and you're making millions of dollars off of it.
Yeah.
And like
it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but it's like I always say as a comedian, like your innocence is so lost. That's the shittiest part about being a comedian is your innocence in comedy is lost. It's hard to just sit back and laugh at a. Oh
no! I talked about that last night on stage, where it's like you're so jaded. The only time you can enjoy a show is when someone's struggling.
Yeah, you want to go see someone have a rough time and see if they could dig out of it in some way. You really have no interest in going in there and like it's like as much as I love like Attell, like I don't go in the room for Attell even every time anymore because like I just know he's going to do good. But when they go, this guy turned on Attell and he's down there doing whatever. Now I want to go see what he does because that's when I think the magic kicks in.
Well, when I started with him, there was always the possibility that he would go on the defensive and try to climb out of it. In the garage, Big Jay Oakerson from Philly, from New York City. The first time I met you, I think I was, I was giving you a ride home or something. I met you once or twice, and then I think, did I drive you or you drove me? I can't remember. I remember
I drove you.
Yeah, like we went to your house, and it was like this weird dark place, and you said you had a kid in there, and there's a girl involved, and Kurt was in the car, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? What kind of world is he living in? And, that was my feeling then.
It's a real dichotomy there. That's what I tell when I'm up there doing like, I'm telling stories about, finger blanging a fat chick in something in some dark alley.
Yeah.
But I tell you like 3 hours ago, I was doing 3rd grade homework with my dog.
So you're not with the mother of the kid anymore.
Yeah, no, I am.
You are?
Yeah.
So you have an understanding of some kind, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. But I saw you in Montreal, and the one thing I don't know much about the Philly comedy scene other than, I talked to Paul F. Tompkins, and you guys couldn't be more different. The way I always saw you was, there were a couple of guys, you and Kurt Metzger, who I love, who seemed to be, heavily influenced by some of the New York comics, like Attell and everything.
Absolutely.
And that, like, I could hear it in your voice that, you figured, you sort of took the Attell model and kind of made it your own somehow, right? Do you conscious of that?
Absolutely. One of the coolest things I thought happened to me early in comedy is when, when you start out and you're amongst like your peers of like the new guys, doing open mics and everything. We were just coming up in New York and maybe working like the Boston Comedy Club.
So you drive up from Philly?
Every day, yeah. We're doing like 6 days a week. It was me, Kevin Hart, Keith Robinson, and Kurt Metzger.
So 2 black guys, 2 white guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
it's not clear to me whether Kurt even likes white guys, really.
I'm not sure myself either. I found tapes recently of me and Kurt doing the Laugh House in Philadelphia, which is a black comedy club that we started off at. And it was the only club in Philly at the time. It was the only game in town. and it was like promoted by the hip hop club station, so it was packed every week. And you see these videos. I went immediately. I wanted to do good. I didn't really have any. I had a passion to do well more than I had a passion to get what I want to say out. So I pandered immediately. And so in these videos, it's literally I'm wearing a FUBU jersey with like the chain and Timberland boots. Not me at all, like not my stuff, but I completely morphed into that because I just wanted them to get past the fact that I was white and laugh at whatever I was saying.
Now, when with a black club, because my experience is limited, but Kevin obviously started there, and Keith is a Philly guy, but he'd long been gone, right? Was he still in Philly when he started?
By pure chance, he had gone back to Philly. His mother had gotten ill.
Yeah.
And he had come back to Philly. So he could be with her every day before. So what we do, like he kind of like took an interest in me and Kev and Kurt. And, I had a car. And he really just started like saying, like, I'll bring you guys to New York and kind of get you guys into the scene up there. I mean, I was going to quit comedy, absolutely. I just was tired of like...
But like, let me try to picture it because I don't even talk to enough black guys about black rooms. But to me, like I was in downtown Los Angeles and then I walked by a black club and I saw the people going in. They're dressed up. It's a big night out. Yeah. There's a lot of shit going on, and I realized like I wouldn't even know what to do in there. And when I the few times I've worked for a black audience, it's not because it's not a racial thing necessarily. It's just culturally, there's a lot more expectation. I mean, they're fucking going out. Yeah. And I notice that about comedy with anything that, when they're on, when black people go out, they're out, and you better show the fuck up.
Black audiences love being reminded about something they already know. That's what they love. They love, remember when we used to go to the swap meet and do the gym? Like, they really, like, they want to hear.
How old were you?
What, 19.
So you're 19, and you're bigger than you were now. Yeah. And you're a big guy.
Yeah.
So you were fat.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was all of my first jokes at all. My whole sets were like, and when you're fat and being fat, and how about when fat people do this?
How did you get your first gig because I know, like, there's such a dichotomy. This is why I wanted to talk to you. Like, I talk to a lot of guys. I talk to alternative guys. I talk to old guys. I talk to, guys who started in clubs, but I've never talked to a white comic who specifically started in black clubs. You just didn't know where else to go?
No, we had no idea. That was the local. What happened was a friend of mine suggested I try comedy. She said, "Oh, you were always funny. You should try comedy."
Yeah.
And it really made sense to me because way more so than I think a lot of comics who are currently in comedy, I had like a real deep history of comedy since I was a kid. Like I watched every episode of Evening at the Improv and Caroline's Comedy
Where do you
Hour.
come from? What are your parents?
Like what do they do? Or like,
well, who are they? What was the situation there?
My mom had me when she was 19. My dad took off when I was 3, and it was me and my mom. My mom went back to school and started working a lot, and I more or less lived with my grandparents. Yeah. And then when I was 10, my grandfather died, and my mom remarried, and then I started staying home a lot more. My mom and step-pop are they're supportive. They were very nervous about me doing this, and I quit college like immediately to do it. I went to college for a month. Yeah. And I did an open mic night, and the first one, and it went well. And then I dropped out of college the next day, and then I like bombed for like 3 months straight. I couldn't get it again.
Did you grow up in a black neighborhood?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, in Overbrook, West Philadelphia.
Yeah,
but I never like didn't. It didn't seem that weird to me at the time until we moved out of there. It was like that how like scary and black it was. But it was very scary and black.
But you were in a sense though, like it just seems like. I think that neighborhoods are still segregated and that there comes a point where you're just part of the community. Did you feel like your family was like that? Did you feel distance between you and the black dudes in the community?
No, I was able to, like, I just learned that very young that and that's I think it's why I watched so much stand-up comedy when I was younger, because I'd go to school and regurge that stuff. Yeah. Because no one in 5th and 6th grade, knows who Bruce Baum and like, Wayne Cotter and these guys, but I'm watching them like, every Sunday night on TV. Yeah. And I love, so I would kind of rehash and then try to make my own funny, and I just kind of became known for being like funny. Right. Which got me out of a lot more fights than, people kind of wanted me around to like. So
you were doing Bruce laugh. Baby Man Baum bits at the ghetto junior high?
I'm doing the We Will Rock You with the paper bags and everything. I really.
What, did you?
Oh, yeah. I thought anything I could do, and I would go regurgitate like it was my own. Yeah. Like I would just tell them, hey, did you guys ever think about this?
Yeah. But you were working the room in the classroom. I think that's fair game.
I was never class clown. I was never like the fart noise under the arm. I was always like it was like either the written word or like
you were putting on a show.
Yeah.
So all right. So then where'd you do your first open mic?
At the Laugh House in Philadelphia. A friend told me I should try it, and then I was on South Street in Philadelphia the next day, and
FUBU.
Yeah. We were sneaker shopping actually, and I saw the comedy club, which I guess it used to be Catch a Rising Star, and then it became David Brenner's Laugh House, and then he sold it to like this guy who was like a hip hop DJ, and they made it into a black club, and it was packed. I mean, the business was good there, and that was actually a little something that I found weird when I did go to New York.
Yeah.
Now you're doing open mics in the basement of a chess club for 5 people who are kind of pissed off that they're there.
Yeah.
Coming from like, whether we bombed or did well, the crowd was packed, huge, and like ecstatic. And, we're following comics who were like, all right, I'm going to break down the new Dr. Dre song right now. And then like, very quickly, I couldn't go up there and be like, growing up in Philly. Like they didn't care. They wanted to hear music and you could do anything to this song. And 15 comics doing the same jokes over and over again.
They would?
Yeah, and just me and Kurt. And just me and Kurt in there somewhere. And Kurt made me laugh so much because right away when I met him, we had like a kinship immediately because we were first with the 2 white guys that were doing it. And he saw through that, I'm wearing a FUBU jersey and baggy jeans. He kind of saw through that I'm not that guy,
Yeah.
And we became immediate friends, and and Kurt from day one just had these great jokes, just well-constructed, with great punchlines. And they would just turn on him because he was white, and he never changed the way he was. And he would look in these videos I just found. You could see he's looking over the audience. Like he doesn't even make eye contact with them at all.
Yeah,
he just performs to the wall. And he and right about the time that we left Philly and started going to New York, I think he'd written his first joke where he was like, "I'm going to make black people laugh," and it was like, you ever taken a doo-doo in public and they see your shoes and you don't want to walk around because they see your shoes and they know you're the guy who doo-dooed and saying doo-doo.
Did he do that in front of them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did they like it?
And yeah, of course, they loved it.
Come on.
I wish I was lying to you. I mean, what's hilarious? The joke was like one of the simplest like black comedy, like kind of shitty bullshit jokes is white kids got time out when they was getting in trouble. I go, my mom took time out from whooping my ass. And that joke gets said 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And maybe like a year ago, I was in the Laugh Factory, and the audience was like, and it was predominantly black, but it was a mixed audience. And just I was talking about that joke. Me and my friend were laughing about it on the way to the club, and I just kind of caught eyes with him in the back of the room, and the set was going good. It was going fine, and then just in the middle of the set though, I just go. I go, what's up with white kids? He goes, white kids got time out when they was kids. He goes, my mom took time out from whooping that ass. And the crowd like erupts, and it just makes me shake my head. I'm like, hack is hack for a reason. I mean, it really does work. Like if you got that reaction for every shitty joke you told, like why would you not? Why would you stop doing it? If you have no integrity, why would you stop?
Right.
If you just want to do well and get pussy, which is probably the motivator for 90% of comics who start.
Yeah.
I'm going to get pussy, and I'm going to get. And if you have no passion to actually do it, like, people, Kevin Hart himself, said, like, when he was young, you could tell Kev wanted to be a star, and he became a good comic through it. But, like, I never thought about being on television.
And he now you met him because he was working at the Black Club. He brought you in, right?
No, we started together. He started a week after me, actually, 1 week after me.
So let's go back because, I saw the show that you did in Montreal, and I want to talk about some of that stuff. So you started doing... the FUBU shirts and those shoes. And then how did your act evolve?
What evolved from that is that I became up to a point where I was known as, like, I would do well at these black shows because I was willing to take my clothes off on stage. And
what is that? What do you mean? Like, what was the bit?
The bit was about my stepfather was a power lifter, like a weightlifter.
Yeah.
And he had all these friends who were bodybuilders, and I just always thought it was hilarious how it's like they'd come over and they'd make us watch videos of like them posing, which I thought was ridiculous. So I'd make fun of bodybuilders, but then I would be wearing under my clothes zebra print thong underwear.
Yeah. And how much did you weigh?
300, 310. And the 2001 theme would kick on, the orchestral 2001 theme.
This was your closer.
My big closer.
Yeah.
After I did a bunch of jokes about why you couldn't have Spider-Man living in the hood, and I mean, like, It was total panic. If I ever get a chance, I will show you these videotapes. I mean, my wording. I'm like, you ever buy a bitch a drink up in a club? And I mean, like, it's insane.
No, you did really?
Absolutely.
Oh no, you didn't.
But oh yeah, I did. Oh yeah, he did now. And he, I said, and Kurt was never willing to pander the whole time. But I went right because I wanted to do well, and I got to the point where they were like paying me like regular pay to do these black shows, and I had like 15 music cues throughout the thing, and this bodybuilding thing, as the 2001 theme would come on, I would slowly, for every crescendo it would hit, I would take off a piece of clothing down to thong underwear. And it just like annihilated. It was great. And you
would end up standing there naked except for thong underwear, posing like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I mean, never.
To the 2001 theme.
Yeah, I've never seen black people happier in my life than for some reason a fat guy and a thing. I mean, as awful as I looked and getting naked, I mean, I used to have fat black women throwing it at me, and like like these enormous women that would show up every week to see me again, and it was very bizarre and very ego boosting, and what a shot down it was when Keith Robinson first brought us up to New York. I'm like, well, they don't want to hear me break down the new P. Diddy track. Like, they're not going to follow this.
What does that mean, break down?
Oh, that was a big thing in the black comedy clubs. You go, what's this new song? You break down the songs.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's like.
And did you have your thong underwear at that night, or did you?
I never did the thong underwear at a mainstream club in New York City.
Now, how did you stop doing that? How did you know to stop doing that?
I didn't. I performed. I was going to stop doing comedy at a point. I really just felt a little defeated because I was doing these black clubs, but you were never going to get more than $100 a show ever.
How were you making money?
I was driving strippers and escorts to bachelor parties.
How'd that come about?
Being a bouncer. A friend of mine named Ernie came one day and he said his girlfriend's dad works for this company, and I thought it was interesting. He was like an old guy.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, he just goes and drives the girls, and you just stand there and collect the money for them, and then you leave. And I was like, and they get butt naked, and I thought it was going to be the best job ever. And then it's a very dangerous job. Like, you get a bunch of drunk guys around like one vagina, like it gets pretty hostile pretty quick, and they're all jockeying for position. And the thing is, on the phone, you can't call a company like that and say flat out, you're never going to get a straight answer. You go, do these girls fuck if you pay them? Like, they'll always be like, they have fun, and then when they get there, you never know what's going to happen. So you walk in, 9 times out of 10, these guys had an expectation, like, well, how much does it cost to fuck the girl? And then I got to go, she doesn't really do that. And then like, what? And they get angry and they start getting aggressive.
You would go bring one girl to a place and there'd be 5 guys want to fuck her?
Oh man, I wish those numbers were right. No, it was 1 or 2 girls, and there'd be 15 to 20 guys, generally.
And they all want to fuck her.
Yeah. Oh, one girl. Let me tell you this champ. I've never turned down such hot pussy in my life. I drove a girl, really, really cute chick. This is a funny story actually. I always call the story like The Replacements, because it was an ice storm in Philadelphia, and these guys were having a bachelor party in Ocean City, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I go to my company, and he goes, yeah, you're picking up these girls. We have the 3 prettiest girls we have.
Yeah.
Are going, and they all canceled.
Right.
So he goes, well, we got some other girls that are going to go out, and I go to pick them up one at a time. The first lady was a little old lady. I mean, like holding her purse. Like,
no, come on. How old?
57 to 60 some years old.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Blonde hair lady. Gets in the car. She's wearing a pantsuit.
Yeah.
Like a blazer and a skirt, I guess, like down below the knees. Glasses, bob haircut. Then we pick up a lady, a little black lady who looks like Bobby Brown. She has like a Gumby haircut, like the sloping haircut. She's all high, and she gets in the car. And there's one pretty girl who's going. She's going to drive herself. So I got to drive the 2 weirdos.
Yeah.
We get to Ocean City. Thank God these guys were in good spirits, because to walk into a place with like these 3 women, you're like, these guys aren't going to be happy. But they were so drunk. They were hilarious. Like, they walked in, the old lady, they were like, oh, like, which one of you? Like, the pretty girl walks in first, and they go, oh, nice. And then the old lady goes, oh, you brought your mom? At one point, the black girl and the pretty girl were dancing around, and the old lady was just sitting on the couch, and then one of the guys goes over and he goes, like, clean up or something. I don't know. Like, we're paying you. Do something. And then one guy finally came out of a bedroom just drunk enough, and he grabbed her and took her into a bedroom, the old lady. But the pretty girl, 14 guys, 2 at a time, took them all on. And this is how creepy.
And you're standing there?
I'm outside. I was outside the room. And one of the creepiest, like, things I've ever, like, seen happen is how guys are so, like, when pussy's on the plate, like, how driven they are and one-dimensionally thinking.
Even when they don't have to work for it, though.
You don't have to work for it, but every guy, they go in two at a time. From the first two guys to the last two guys would come out and they go, oh, man, that's kind of weird. Like, she's on her period. That's what they said. And then the other guys would go, oh, dude, really? And then just go right in the room like behind. I'm like, oh, let me go find out for myself, I guess. And she just took them two at a time. And then we went to like a Denny's afterwards, and she's trying to explain her life away to me. I'm like, I don't want to.
How does that go?
And she goes, well, I have a dream of being an anesthetician. I was like, well, I don't know if you have to fucking bang 14 guys to go to beauty school to get facials. Just go find your dream.
So did it ever get like? So you're doing comedy and you're driving strippers at night, but you're not you're not an ass kicker, are you?
No, not at all. I never thought it was going to come down to that.
What do you think was going to happen?
I thought everyone would be docile like myself, and they'd be like excited that there was pussy in the room, and they'd be too nervous to try to do anything else, and they'd leave.
Did you? So you got into trouble ever?
Yeah, I had a couple. I had a gun pulled on me. The first time I ever got confident in a physical confrontation in one of these shows, a guy pulled a gun on me in Atlantic City because it was two girls and they were getting changed back into their clothes. It was after the show, and old Italian guys like banging on the door trying to get in. Yeah, and he wasn't a scary looking guy at all. And I walked out of the room and I told the guy, "You can't go in. The show's over. You know, it's all done." Yeah. And he goes, "No, I'm going to go in. I paid for this." And I was like, "No, but I mean, what you paid for is over. The show's done." And he goes, "Well, I paid for it, so I say I can go in there." And I go, very confident, I go, "Well, I'm saying you can't go in there, so what are we going to do?" And he pulled out a gun and put it right to my between my eyes. Yeah. Loaded, cocked, I have no idea. Yeah. But he put it right between my eyes. And I remember just in the fastest thought of my mind going like, I don't give a shit about these two girls at all. Yeah. They're just animal drug addicts that I go, why am I have a gun on my face? Like nothing in my life growing up. And, I used to be afraid of rain when I was a kid. And my, I'm a mama's boy and I cry more than I should. And now I'm trying to be like a badass to protect these two animals that they don't give a fuck if I get shot for them. They'll go out there and fight the guy themselves. Like these girls, like this is better than their home life, what they're living right now. Like they always like, there's always some kid in social services and God. Some boyfriend who beats the shit out of them or something. Yeah. It's just like I'm like, this isn't my world. Like I'm not this guy. Like, I am very like, I like to have Passover dinner with my mom and grandma. And I find myself in these like bizarre situations.
So what'd you do?
When the guy had the gun in my face, I said nothing, and then he laughed and put the gun down by his side and walked away. And then I went and got the girl and go, let's get out of here. And the funniest part is I love telling stories like that, especially when I was 19, 20 years old. And you go tell your friends that, and I love your friends that always go, dude, he just walked away and put the gun down by his side. He goes, I would have fucking tackled. I go, would you have? Like, I'm happy he didn't shoot me in the face. Like, I looked at it as I won, no matter.
Yeah, it's easy. I would have. Yeah.
Oh, dude, man, I would have put the gun. He turned his back on you? You could have. Kind of what? I was proud of myself for not shitting my pants when he did that. I mean, proud of myself. I mean, that was one of the scares. Like a gun in my face. I'm like, it's really just goes like, I just wanted to see some pussy with everybody else. Like, I figure I'm making it up because I'm not paying for it. Like I get to watch it for free. And I always had these dreams that I'd drive the girl home and she'd be so excited she'd fuck me, and they never did. Yeah. And, oh my God, the worst stories. They all had these terrible lives. One of the funniest I've ever heard was that
it's horrible. I hate to be laughing, but it's so
fine. That black girl with the Gumby haircut, the Bobby Brown girl. During that party, at one point, a door like swung open. It was like a haunted house. Yeah, like a door swung open, and I just saw her like standing up with one leg in the air, and the bachelor was holding her leg up and just like fucking her, and she was making these hilarious noises. And on the way home, we had to stop through a toll booth. Yeah. And it was an awkward silence in the car. No one had the old lady was like, sitting in the front seat, and this jumpy little black girl was in the back seat. And we pulled up to the toll booth, and all the windows were down. Yeah. I don't think I had air conditioning. Yeah. And as I'm paying the toll, this black lady leans forward between the both of us, and she goes, I know what they say about white boys, but that white boy fucked the shit out of me. And like the toll booth lady just didn't know how to react to that. Just give me the thing. I'm like, it's like, what society do you live in where you think like people want to hear that? Like to talk so candidly. I mean, it's ironic too because like to me, I think getting on stage and telling like my, you're the sum of your flaws. So it's like you want to get on.
Well, I think it's sort of. I had this conversation with someone today. It's a different version of nerddom. Like I dated a woman who was in the sex industry briefly. And they talk about it like, that's dinner conversation. Like she did dominatrix work. She's like, so I'm spanking this guy. And he wanted me to pee on his face. And it's like, these people don't know where you come from. But if you talk to a guy who likes guitars, that's all he's going to fucking talk about. It's just their life. What are you going to do about it? It just happens to be that business.
Oh, but there's always a pain behind it.
No, yeah.
No matter what they...
In the sex industry,
no matter how much they try to play it off like...
what was that story? The biker story.
Oh, yeah. Man, there's so many of them that
where you had to do that drive?
Yeah.
What was that?
2 miles down a dirt road for racist. But when the guy called me, the guy gave me a call to do the job, and this guy didn't care about it. He just wanted to make the money. He sat in his house.
And you're driving what, a Lincoln or what?
No, I'm driving my, at that time, my Saturn. Pretty decent Saturn.
Yeah.
Or is that or my Honda Accord hatchback? One of those two cars I had at the time. Kurt got that stolen.
Yeah? How?
He just parked it in a shitty part and got fucking taken.
Yeah.
He actually parked it in a towaway zone, so we thought it got towed. Turned out it got stolen before it got towed.
Yeah.
Good Lord. But I think it was my Saturn. And the boss called me up and he goes, it was literally presented to me this way. He very blunt. He goes, all right, you're going to drive this black girl and this Puerto Rican girl to a racist biker party, bachelor party. Was that like a joke? I thought he was kidding. So like, why would you, do you care about these girls' safety at all?
Yeah.
Because what am I going to do?
Right.
And we met the guys at a liquor store because they said we wouldn't find the place. It was 2 miles down a dirt road.
We're in Jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
South Jersey.
Yeah.
And right as we're driving down that road, I assume we're in agreement. So I always think like these girls aren't like ballsy and they're afraid too, but they're never afraid. They're never afraid of any situation. I don't know how many times they've been cut in their life,
but these racists requested a Puerto Rican and
specifically a Hispanic and a black girl, and we drive 2 miles down this dirt road. And as I'm driving on the road, I'm looking at the girls. I thought we were all in agreement that like we're gonna leave, right? Like this is like we're gonna wait for them to get far enough ahead. Where we can just turn around and get the fuck out of here.
What, they looked like fucking weirdos or what?
The guys?
You met, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was like a party at Cher's house in that movie Mask. It was like just a bunch of Sam Elliott's and like just these burly, goofy guys and the beard. They had the whole thing going. And at the time, by the way, I'm living the character at this point, so I'm also pulling up in my FUBU jersey and, I got the whole garb on with me, like Echo shirts and Sean John stuff. And, I think they're going to judge me for that immediately, and they're probably not afraid of me at all, which they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And the girls just wanted to go in and make the money. They really didn't care, and they kept saying, like, oh, we got a job to do. Let's they're doing noble work. Yeah. like, hey, no, we signed up for this, We're not going AWOL.
Yeah. So you go to this place.
We get it. I had to go in first to call the boss, and when I walked in, like, everything was confirmed. Like, there was, like, a bed. I said there was like a bed, and there was guns all over the bed. I said it was like the biker version of like when you come to a party, like put your coats on the bed. There's guns all over. And I called my boss, and he couldn't have. He goes, "How is it?" And I was like, no. And he goes, "Is it scary?" I was like, "Yeah," because their guys are all around me, and I can't like say like there's guns. I'm scared. And he goes, "What are the guns?" And I was like, "Mm-hmm." And he goes, "Are they holding them on you?" I go, "Oh, not yet." And he goes, "I talked to them on the phone. They're good dudes." He just hung up and just said to do it. And, I mean, that night just evolved into... They actually didn't end up causing much of a problem with me. There was an internal biker problem.
What?
That scared the shit out of me. The girls went into the bathroom to change into their stripper clothes.
Yeah.
And a lady came out in a robe from a bedroom.
Yeah.
And, like, really, like clearing her eyes. Like didn't know there was, like, a very loud... biker bachelor party happening in the next room, and just confused by the whole thing, and tries to go into the bathroom, and the strippers they have the class of nothing, so they just like bitch, we're in here doing and she got mad and started a big fight. And then her husband, I guess, her old man, came out of the bedroom in tighty whities, nothing else, real scrawny, feathered hair, and he starts arguing, and I guess one of the bikers was his brother.
Yeah.
And they went over to start arguing. They started fist fighting right in front. And my jaw was on the floor. I was very visible at that point. All these bikers, like, this guy's not going to do anything at all, and just terrified. And they, one guy ended up pulling out a gun.
Yeah.
And his brother in tighty whities ran through the screen of the back door, like through it, just took the screen right out and jumped over the deck. And they were in the woods, took off into the woods, and he shot into the woods 9 times. And I said for the hour that I was there, he never came back.
Yeah.
And I go, and I don't know if he was dead or hiding, but either way, like that was like the least of my concern. I was like, all right, well, it wasn't me they shot at. Now I can kind of, and he's like trying to bud nuzzle up to them, like, your brother's kind of a dick, huh? Yeah. What a weirdo.
Yeah,
stay out there in the woods, jerk off, right? But I was like trying to be on their team,
and so
they were cool when it was all as the party went on, and then and I said I never confirmed if it was a joke or not, but they were in earshot of me. I guess they didn't know that, and the girls were changing back into their clothes. And I heard the guy go, what do you want to do with this fat kid when we fuck these chicks? And I yelled out the words 30 seconds to the bathroom.
Yeah.
30 seconds. And I went and started the car, and we got the fuck out of there. And they didn't come after. I guess they were preoccupied, thank God. But God damn. And we did. We drove. It was a 45-minute drive back to Philly. And all three of us teary-eyed. Like, I was crying. And they were going like, they're yelling I'm the worst bouncer. And I knew that. And I was like, I know. I'm awful. I thought I was going to see some pussy and have a good time. This is very aggressive.
Was that the last gig?
The last time I did it, I actually did it in New York, ultimately. When I came to New York and I was living there and just making no money in comedy, if I was making like, $50 on a weekend, I was doing great. It was no money in it. And the mainstream clubs for me. And I called one day to drive, and this guy hired me on the phone, on the spot. Didn't even bat an eye.
Because you had done it before.
Yeah, I guess. I guess just a lot of people don't want to do this. And the way it worked in Philly, which was kind of cool, I always liked, was that you'd get a phone call, and it'd be like, pick up this girl, you're going to this place.
Yeah.
In New York, they did it where you pick up 3 girls, and you just have them and hope that work comes in. Like, you're on call, essentially. So I'd have these 3 animals in New York, headlined by... Where the 3 hookers having a conversation is just insane. Like, you can't believe how comfortable. It almost desensitizes you. You don't wonder when you say the word cunt that a girl would go, oh dear.
Yeah.
Because you hear these girls talking about oh, you saw Mr. Johnson last night? Like, did he come? Like, no. And he goes, oh, girl, you got to lay it on him like this, and showing these ass bumps. You got to do this guy. He comes in 2 seconds, and they're high fiving over it, and it's just like what world? Like, what happened? Like, you wore a dress when you were a little kid at some point. You had, a dream to do something. It's just and the headliner of that group was, the first one I picked up, so I heard for about an hour before I had the other 2 girls, and she was a black albino with a lazy eye.
Yeah.
And the swagger of, a knockout 10. Yeah. I'd never seen, and just all, teeth were, just, grated all up, and a mess. And she was like, I had to cancel a date tonight. She goes, I don't like going on dates. Last date I went on, she goes, now I know what I do for a living, but she goes, in the real world, if a guy wants this pussy, he has to take me out for scrimp at Red Lobster. And I thought she was kidding. I was like, Red Lobster. And she was like, hell yeah, scrimp, scampi at Red Lobster, then you get this pussy. And I mean, is she doing it on purpose? Why would you do that on... Come on. You could read... And the person, and even if you can't read, whoever told you what that sign said, they didn't say Blobster. I'm certain of it. But and wait, had those girls for hours, and then I just that was it. I did it one night, and I came home, and I was like, that's it.
And you're still doing comedy at the black clubs. Now wait, I want to hear the stories though about. I'm sorry, but I just got to hear the transition to the kids' parties.
Oh, doing the kid's birthday party?
It was the same company, right?
Same company. The guy, I said to him, I was like, I wasn't getting a lot of... I was the last guy he would call for the work because I was his newest employee.
Yeah.
And I went to him, I actually asked him, too. I said, I was like, why am I, the youngest, biggest person on your staff? Everybody else is an older man, it seemed like. I was like, but I seem to have all these crazy adventures happening with mine. They're always going bad and they're scared. And he goes, well, everybody carries a gun. I was like, oh. He goes, you don't have a gun? I was like, no. He goes, you want me to give you one? I was like, no. I'm going to panic. I'll pull that out way preemptively. And it's hey, these girls having sex? I'm like, no. And I'll pull the gun out and be wagging. I'd be terrified.
And you can't talk about this on stage yet. You must have wanted to.
Oh, no. I was not in that place. Yeah, no. I'm still, talking about, what's up with the...
Yeah.
You go to the Chinese food store and they don't give you enough duck sauce.
No.
What's up with the duck? Give me 1,000 soy sauces, 1 duck sauce. Annihilates. Standing ovation. No, I couldn't talk about it all yet. But that company, because I wasn't getting enough work, I was like, can I just can you give me a little more? And he goes, I mean, by day we send out people to kids' birthday parties that dress up like characters. like Elmo and Winnie the Pooh and stuff like that. And he goes, would you want to do that? And I was like, sure. But because I was his last option on that, like, I'd be his fifth phone call. So he'd call up and say, you know, hey, you want to go do this thing at, you know, it's 5 of the guys, like, you want to go to North Philadelphia and do, like, you know, Rashonda Jenkins' birthday party as Elmo? And, like, everyone else would be like, no. Like, but I'd go, yeah, sure, I get. And it was just, like, the hostility of the way these people would talk to me when I'm going to be a character at there's kids' it was just, I never understood.
And you had to wear the whole outfit and everything?
And they were awful. Like, he bought, like, these generic...
They're not even the real Elmos?
No, not at all. I was like a brown Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah.
I said I was Elmo. The first one I ever did, I was Elmo, but the outfit had no, like, feet coverings.
Yeah.
So it was just, like, my Nikes.
Yeah.
Was sticking out. And they would just send me these things, and they were always just taken back to the fact that I was white.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was so low rent. I'd come like a garbage bag full of the outfit.
Yeah.
I'd walk in, and they were just always mean immediately. And I was just going to entertain their kids. I thought it was going to be this adorable thing, but, like, the adults would fuck with you, and they'd like, I've gotten kicked in the nuts.
What do you mean?
By kids. That first one I did as Elmo, it was sweltering hot, like summer, and there's no AC, and these outfits are like, you know, they make outfits that have, like, fans in them to keep you, like, alive, I think, essentially. And this guy just gave me, like, it was like a burlap costume. It was like made like a carpet, like rug art. You ever like the hook art?
Yeah.
It's like that, and I got it, like, on me, and I'm profusely sweating and miserable.
Yeah.
And the mom kept yelling for me to do the Hokey Pokey. I don't know if that's the only kid song she ever heard of, but she kept screaming that and called me motherfucker.
Yeah.
And, like, there's children no one cares at all. No one cares. You know, it's like every adult's drinking a 40.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, the moms are braiding each other's hair.
And you're standing there sweating in an outfit.
I'm sweating in a way,
but calling you motherfucker.
And it's my first one. It's trial by fire, so I don't even know. The guy gave me a tape of the Hokey Pokey.
Yeah.
And a costume.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what the hell I'm supposed to do. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk.
You weren't familiar with Elmo?
No, not super familiar with him. But I mean, like, I just don't know, like, what it was just dancing the whole time, or playing with the kids, or do I play a game with them? I had no preparation. He goes,
You just had
go be Elmo for an hour.
You got a bag and a tape?
A bag and an audio cassette tape, yeah. And I remember going that one particularly, and it really stunk. And then, like, the moment it started to feel good, it was like the little girl whose birthday it was. Like, you know, sometimes the kids are really shy, but like, she was affectionate. And she hugged me, and she's like, "I love you, Elmo." And I was like, "Oh, "This is actually a pretty cool job." You know, it was pretty neat. I had younger siblings, so I knew, like, you know, I'm good with kids, and I think it's pretty cool. And then, like the punk kids from the neighborhood showed up. Fucking destroy everything that I just built with this little girl. And started telling everybody that I'm not the real Elmo. And then and I remember he ended up staring. First of all, he called out my sneakers, which really stung. So I was like, I realized, I was like, maybe this girl will not notice I'm wearing Nikes. And he goes, well, if it's the real Elmo, why is he wearing Nikes? I was like, fuck. And then he started looking through, like, the mouth was where you could, like, you know, if you look hard,
he
you can
grabbed
see
your head.
No, he didn't grab the head. He's just looking. He's like, he's like obnoxiously looking right at my face through this little thin screen that hides my face. And then when he realized that I was white, he lifted the sleeve of the outfit and screamed Elmo's white, like, but like Paul revered it, like, you know, to the left and to the right, and, you know, and people really stopped what they were doing. You know, everything short of, like, the record scratching, everyone turning around, like, everyone was shocked that Elmo was white. Yeah, that Elmo was white, and it took, like, the kids didn't like me anymore. It was so weird, like, everyone just got awkward and uncomfortable. And then the kid goes, "Let's see if Elmo has nuts." Oh, no. And I lost him in my vision because I have, like, about a 6-inch range of vision, and I remember just, like, my plan was to just start spinning in circles, and I would see him and then I wouldn't, and I would see him and I would try to go the other way, and I tried to keep him in front of me, and he kicked me from behind. He got behind me and fucking put a foot deep in my ball bag, and it was so hot, and because it was so hot, I wasn't wearing pants. I just wore my underwear underneath. It was the most flush shot.
No,
I've ever taken.
So what happened?
In half. I went down. The mom just kept yelling at me to get up, and it was like, it was hella. And like I said before, I thought, like, the stripper things were going to be, like, the worst, but I've been equally scared at, like, those kids' like, it's really it's amazing how little, you know, and almost like in a metaphor, like how just, like, performers, like the outside people, like, perform, like, it's amazing how much people who have done nothing feel obliged almost to pass any kind of a judgment in any kind of way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same, like I said, I'd rather have somebody walk out of a comedy club and go like, I fucking hated you.
Yeah.
Than give me like a scrappy little head rub and be like, good job.
Yeah.
Pretty good. You know,
yeah,
like,
you want to have an
like,
impact.
Love me or hate me.
Yeah.
Like, walk out and want to go find everything I've ever done, or walk out and fucking, you know, hope I die. But don't walk out thinking it's okay. And those things were just like, that's how you just felt judged, and like they see like you were a piece of shit for even doing it. It's like, you fucking called me here to be Elmo.
Yeah.
What are you angry that I'm here for?
Well, when did you have a moment where you're like, this is fucked? I mean, was there a point where, you know, you're driving strippers around, you go into a kid's party dressed as Elmo, getting kicked in the balls, and you're still doing comedy, but you're wearing FUBU and taking your clothes off with a thong? Huh?
I was going to quit. I was going to walk away.
And then what changed?
I started working at a job where I started training for a job because I was like, I'm going to go back to college. I'm going to stop. There's a low ceiling on this black comedy circuit. I can't, you know, I'm not going to become Martin Lawrence or anything. And
were you looked at as like one of those white comics that could only play to black crowds?
Sure, absolutely. And I remember when we'd go to those rooms, it made me feel really, you know, I'm a relatively sensitive person.
Because there's only a few of those guys, though, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'd go with Kurt Metzger, and we'd go to these rooms. And because Kurt had such good jokes and didn't dress the part, they would embrace him very much. And they would come to me and they'd be like, hey, Kurt, I have a great set. And they'd walk up to me and they'd go, that Def Jam shit's not really going to fly here. It's like, you never even seen me perform yet. Like, I have things I want to say to a mainstream audience, or if somebody wants to listen to, you know. And I just wasn't respected in those circles at all. And we would drive like an hour to go to the Stress Factory, you know, to do open mic
in
there.
Jersey?
Which was like, that was a bad open mic. And it just felt very like...
And you were still doing those jokes for white audiences or mixed audiences?
Yeah, for black.
There was only like a couple of guys. There was another guy that used to do Evening at the Apollo, a Jewish guy, a white guy. There's only a few white guys that did that. I mean, that was their world.
Yeah, it's a hard one to... But you know what? It depends who you are, I think. I think, like, there's something in you. Like, I'm not, like... I'm pretty white by nature. Like, you know what I mean? I'm very, like... you know, I've said Marilyn Manson in my iPod as well as like Barbra Streisand. You know, I've used that example a lot.
No, I get it. I mean, I'm not making like a racial judgment, but I mean, what was the point? Was there a point where, you know, the bodybuilding thing? When did that stop? Did it tank at some point?
It did tank bad.
What do you mean?
But like where it came off of though was I said I when I was going to quit.
Yeah.
I had to go train in this job for 3 days, and I ended up. Like on the third day of training, I got a phone call from Michael Blackson, who was a comic in Philadelphia, who offered me a gig that night, and I blindly accepted it. I hate to make it sound like I was going to not say no because I'm quitting comedy, but I was like, yeah, I'll get a different job, whatever. I'll miss the day of training. I'll get some other, because I was going to go back to college anyway when the semester started. And it was in Minneapolis. I had to fly there, and it was like $400, and I was like, wow, that was like huge for me. $400. That'd be more, I think, at that point than I've ever made in comedy in one shot. $400. And I'm flying, which was exciting. Like, I've never flown to do comedy really at that point at all. I get to the airport, and Keith Robinson was the other comic. You know, Keith was doing it as a favor,
right?
Where I'm doing it as like, I can't believe I got this gig. And, and Keith started talking to me, and you know, he sounded like he was very ingrained in the mainstream scene, but I didn't really believe it. I thought he was
what year was this? Because I mean, Keith was like, I know Keith. I when I started out, I opened for Keith.
Really? Yeah. Keith. This was 2001.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's long after, yeah.
Maybe even a little earlier. Maybe 2000.
Yeah,
2001, I think. And we went out to do this gig, and he's talking to me about like all these mainstream comics and everything, and I'm just kind of
was it a black room?
Yes.
Okay.
It was a very very black show in Minneapolis, like a dinner theater place.
Right.
It was, you know, very hip hoppy, and there was a rap group went on before the comedy show and all that stuff. I mean, that was always the worst thing with those black shows. You knew like there was going to be trouble getting paid when like every guy who like ran the show was wearing the same football jersey.
Yeah,
like, they're a rap crew also, and like, there was going to be problems.
Oh man!
And this was like a pretty square deal, but and Keith's talking to me about all this mainstream comedy and all everybody he knows, and I think he's just name dropping and being full of shit, kind of.
Right.
And I did the show, and I did the bodybuilding thing, and I get naked, and it went great. And he pulled me aside afterwards, and Keith did well. He did very well on the show, but Keith's not, he's not doing up there going like, what's up with that new, you know, Jay-Z something. He's going up there and doing like, you know.
Talks about his life.
My mom, my whatever. He does well. But like not like the people standing up and cheering like Apollo style, like I was getting. And I thought I was great, in that regard. And he's telling me to stop getting naked on stage. You're an idiot. He's like, you're a clown. He goes, if I got up there and got down in my underwear, people would laugh. They're going to laugh more at you because you're fat, but they're going to laugh at anyone who gets down in those underwear.
Yeah.
And I was bummed about it, but I kind of took it to heart. And I stopped doing it for a long time. And then I got into a finals of a competition.
Well, you just stopped doing it? You just did the other jokes? And was it?
Well, it's funny. I actually got nervous because my comedy was my jokes aren't all that great at that point at all. So they're doing okay, and now I don't have this big thing. So I did wrestle with that for a while. I remember the next week I came in, I was like, well, I need some big closer. And my idea was to, I told my shitty jokes, and then I prepared this before I went out. I had a string around my neck, and I taped it to right above my nipples.
Yeah.
And I tied these huge, I made a big aluminum foil rings.
Yeah.
And I tied them so it looked like they were giant nipple rings.
Yeah.
And all for this was the beginning and end of the joke. I go, hey guys, by the way, before I get out of here, I just got some new piercings. Let me know what you think. Too much? And I just lifted up my shirt, and it's and everyone laughed and cheered, and I was like, I'm back.
Yeah.
But it's just the same. Might as well just be getting into my underwear again.
Yeah,
it's nonsense,
Yeah.
It's all bullshit. So, but I started to find my way a little bit, and I was trying to get some better jokes, and I was really working towards that. And
you're hanging out with Kurt, who's a great joke writer. So
absolutely,
is he helping you at all?
Absolutely, not with the writing so much. Not so much that he was helping me with writing, but I can bounce the funny that I wanted to be off of him.
Right.
And I'd make him when I knew I'd make him laugh with just social observation,
right.
conversation. I was like, well, I can do that. I'm a funny guy in life, not just to black people. And so I stopped doing the bit, and I started getting my jokes a little bit under me. But I was doing one of these black show competitions I got into, and I was in the finals.
Yeah.
And the guy I was going against, I just thought was better than me, and especially a black comedy. He had a whole breakdown the hip hop songs for people and shit. And I told everyone I'm going to bring back the bodybuilder bit just this once because I'm gonna the prize was to go to St. Louis and compete again against some other shitty comics, and I wanted to go to St. Louis, but they put us up. The way they did the finals was on a weekend, and it's still the same black comedy club, but this is the Thursday, the open mics that we did were more rooted in very hip hop. It was promoted by the hip hop radio station. Right. It would be all the kids in the baggy clothes. Where on the weekends you were getting more of the Huxtables. Yeah. It was going to be more sweaters, older black people, a little more well to do, and wanting to hear more hamburger versus whatever kind of shit they more like the rowdy,
a little highbrow,
maybe a little more thought provoking.
Yeah.
And my jokes are bombing. I went first. We're doing 5 minutes in front of these people.
But you knew you had the thong in the bag there.
Well, but I didn't want to. In my mind, I was like, I shouldn't. But I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
I didn't have my nipple rings prepared.
Yeah.
So I got to whip out this, the bit, and I started doing it, and just every reaction to this thing was not what I expected.
So the 2001 music
starts kicking in, and I take off my shirt. And I'm used to that shirt take off is the first mark where you're I'm killing. Yeah. The room's just obliterated with laughter. And it was nothing. And after the timpani hits the boom, 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 and there's that weird breaking silence where it builds again. I just heard this lady go, she's on the side of the stage. I look at her, I just catch eyes, and she goes, "Oh God." And I was I started unbuckling my pants, going I'm literally having a struggle in this next little stanza of the song, going I should just walk off. I should be I'm good night. I was but I'm in it. Yeah. I'm in it. I go, maybe the thong's going to win him back. I drop the pants, and I turn around, and I usually turn around with I'm trying to hold back my smiles, how happy I am, how much they love this. Yeah. And I turn around now, it looks like I was turn around, boy. That's what I felt like it was. I turned around with a very nervous look on my face to see people and you're seeing head shaking and what's funny is, when it's really put under the microscope that, when I did it normally and it would kill, it wasn't really under a microscope. It's oh, this fat boy's getting naked. Yeah. It's kind of funny. Yeah. But one thing I learned about doing those black clubs, and the cultural difference, as you said before, is white people. It's why Jackass, good example, this Jackass show doesn't have a humongous black following, right? Because black people don't find a lot of humor. There's a big much more machismo in the black culture than definitely in the white culture, right? Or at least in basic white culture. But, there's much more machismo. So, they don't if you told a black guy, like, say, man, suck my dick, like, that means way worse to them than, like, fuck you.
Right.
You know, guys cock slapping each other doesn't really make them, they think it's just gay.
Yeah.
And now when it's under the microscope and no one's on board laughing, they're taking in now how gay this feels that a fat guy's getting naked in front of them.
Yeah.
So you see these guys with their heads in their hands and people leaving. Like, they're walking out.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, going to complain, like, there's a fat guy naked on stage. Like, that's what he does.
Yeah.
And when I'm standing there and the pants came down, that next crescendo, you know, the crescendo hits, and I'm used to, like, just like, I mean, people at that point usually were standing up, cheering, and it was dead silence. And I look over and just hear, I didn't see this person, but I heard a voice go, Jesus Christ, like, upset that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And when the music cuts out and I'm there posing, you know, I never factored in my mind that there was a day this would go bad.
Yeah.
And that, what do I do if there's silence to that? I didn't have anything, so I would just say good night. I'm Big J. Good night. And it was nothing, and just this. It felt like 3 minutes. It was probably 10 seconds of just nothingness, and then just a voice in the back of the room just goes, "What the fuck?" And I didn't have an answer. I didn't even say goodnight on Big J. I just pulled my pants up,
like ashamed.
And I had no idea what to do. When I got in the back, Metzger was laughing. His stomach was hurting. He was kind of like. He goes, you should have just walked off with your pants still around your ankles. Just like Duck walked it off, like in total embarrassment and shame. I was like, he's right. And that was the last time. I never even tried to do it.
Oh, God. So somehow or another...
And nor would I. I mean, like I said before, it's like the beauty of this.
But that's what you needed that. You needed the baptism and failure to take the next step. So is that when you moved to New York?
It is, yeah. You know.
Yeah, you got into the clubs and, you know, you met a tell and people started digging you. I mean, and you got in with those guys.
It's interesting. You said being influenced by like a tell was like, you know, especially when you start off and you're like one of the new guys, and like, there's always like people like, if you're doing well at all, or you're getting better, like people come out of the war that hate you and they tell you why you're doing so good. And like, you know, and Keith Robinson gave me advice in the beginning. He goes, look, he goes, you don't have to worry about like writing your, you know, manifesto yet of what you're going to do. He goes, get your 15 minutes that works and work it. Yeah. Like work it hard. Yeah. And then when you're in everywhere and there's a confidence in you, and you do whatever you want. Right. Do whatever you want. You know, I barely do material in comedy sets now in the city. I just talk to the crowd, see where it goes. Yeah. Know? But and you know, when Kurt would tell me, he goes, yeah, they were saying like you know, Kurt would be like, oh, he's into the comic strip now and staying up in New York. And they'd be like, yeah, doing the same 15 minutes. He's like, yeah, but he's getting in, like, to the play. You know, he's getting the work now. And all that kind of like hatred like comes your way from fucking me. And like that was the big dig on me, was they'd go, he's just doing a tell. Yeah. He's just doing a tell. He only sounds like a tell. And maybe one of the reasons why I was able to kind of develop my own voice from it was my first instinct on that when they said that was to like, attack the problem. And I went right to David Tell. And I said, I keep getting told that I just sound exactly like you and I'm just doing what you do. Like, can you watch me? And if you have anything, please, I'd love to hear it. And he watched me at the Cellar. And he was like, you know, in his own way, he was like giggling, but he was like, still smoking inside there. Yeah. He was like, I remember watching him like intently because I admired him so much. And he's like, you know, because it looks very like almost nonchalant. I was like, this may be going bad. And I went out in the hallway afterwards. I go, what'd you think? And let me tell you, maybe because he thought I did sound like him, and maybe because he thought I didn't. But he goes, "What are you doing 2 weekends from now? You want to open for me at Stress Factory?" And I went, "Yeah." And from that point, I became like you know, one of his like staple like guys that go on the road with him. Yeah. And that guy's done, I mean, an enormous amount of things for me in my career. I mean, he's really been a huge help, and like being able to watch him and kind of study what he does. But like, for whatever it is, like, but I never, you know, when people used to say, I never denied it. I was like, look, I'm the guy who inspires me, but I mean, I don't even have the ability to do what he does. Like, he's a stand-up. I mean, he's like a set-up punch. Like, my things are way more wordy.
Well, I think that it was a cadence thing, but you know,
absolutely.
But it turns out that you and Kurt, that there's something unique about that Philly accent. Like, you guys both talk sort of the same, and Attell's got sort of a Long Island thing, but it's just a pace. But you and Kurt both talk like that, and I remember I realized like they can't both be. It's from where they are. Yeah, I mean, you talk like. From Philly.
Yeah, that's absolutely. That's what it was. It was funny, and then I always like I'd have to make people feel better. Like Joe DeRosa, people like that would come, and I'd remember like you'd go. I auditioned at the comic strip. They said I just sound like you and Kurt. And I was like, well, we heard we didn't sound like David Tell, so I go, it's always going to happen.
Is DeRosa from Philly?
Yeah,
yeah. That's interesting because it's slightly different than Long Island, but it's not that far away.
No, that's not at all. Yeah, it's absolutely. And they do it. And when I hear guys even young guys now that come up from Philly, like they do. Everyone has like the same
it's
like
accent.
It's what
it's
it is.
got nothing to do with it. So all right, so now like it's interesting that the path you've traveled from driving strippers around and stripping down to your thong underwear, but now you're here in LA, you're staying at some house with some band dudes, and so you're no longer opening for a hotel, but you're doing rock shows.
Yeah, well, I got an opportunity that I said yes to last summer before I even thought about like what it was going to encompass. But the band Korn,
it
was like a big heavy metal band.
Are you a fan of theirs?
Yeah, I'm big.
You're
fan.
a big heavy metal guy.
Yeah, I'm a music guy in general, but yeah, I do love like heavy metal a lot, and I'm a big fan of Korn. I've paid to see them numbers of times in my life. And they said I can go out on tour opening for them, and blindly I go yes, like absolutely. Why would I not do that? But then like as 2 weeks before it happened, I'm like, oh, this may be horrendous. Like I'm going to go out for and really what it was is I don't know how many times it's been done, like a comic really touring with a band. I know comics have opened.
It's not an easy gig.
It's a tough gig, and I was like, all I wanted was I didn't want to fail at the job. I have no fear of like bombing or doing. I could talk like that was one of my favorite pinnacle or milestones in comedy. I thought was to realize like if I had to do an hour to headline somewhere, could I bomb for an hour? Like could I comfortably sit there and I can?
Yeah.
Like because I'll make the staff laugh or something. It's like
right.
Having some kind of confidence that like. Look, I know what I'm doing.
It's good to know you can stay on stage for an hour no matter what.
Right, and that's big. So I wasn't. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to be in the middle of that tour. Be like, yeah, we're gonna send you home, buddy. It's like, no.
The guy who failed on the cruise.
Right.
As soon as we dock.
Yeah. Goodbye. We're not gonna be reboarding you.
Yeah.
And it went great. Like it was surprisingly well.
They could focus. The audience that was there could focus and.
I just kind of figured out how to. Like, I very easily I realized I was like, I didn't try to go up there and be shticky, which I'm not shticky, but so I tried to make sure I didn't go up there shticky at all and like go just bouncing the jokes right away.
Right.
Like I just try to like assassinate the front row as much as I could and like get them listening, and cheerlead a little bit. And it's interesting. People like. Some people went out on tours after me. Did it like when they saw me do it? Like they and it's not like. By set number 2, they're like, "Hey, who wants a free hat?" And I was like, they told me, they go, "You could do giveaways, you could do games with the crowd, do whatever."
Yeah.
And I go, "Well, I'm not going to waste 3 months of my life like doing fucking giveaway." I go, "If I'm going to do it, like I'd rather live and die by like making them laugh, like doing my stuff." And it went just, I don't know, it worked well. Like I try to whenever someone would heckle out. And the first tour I did was smaller venues. It was 3 months, but it was 2 tours.
Yeah.
And the first one was like 2,000 theaters, like little theaters. But then I did Mayhem Fest, which was like 14 bands. I did my first set at 1:15 in the afternoon, and then 6 p.m., and then right before Rob Zombie went on the main stage. I'd go in front of 25,000 people. And there's nothing like it. I mean, and again, it's not ideal. Like, I don't envy, like, like the Dane Cook, sold at Madison Square Garden. Like, I don't know if I wanted to do comedy in Madison Square Garden. I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't know if I want it. Like, I like the intimacy of.
Yeah.
But there is something about, like, I always save this, like, one particular bit for that last set when it was in front of, like, the 25. Because the first set would be, like, 2,000 people.
Yeah.
The second one maybe, like, 3,000 or 4,000. And then 25,000.
Yeah.
And I always just save this bit. And there's something about, like, I mean, if you can capture half that crowd. And what was cool is when I go on YouTube and you could see a guy video phoning it from the lawn, and you hear the people around him laugh, and you're like, wow, like how I was able to hit that, I had no idea, because it just seemed nightmarish. And then I became cool with the camera guys for the screens.
Yeah.
And then I told him, I go, hey, when someone heckles, that's me, that's very me, my own personality and my own flaw maybe, or maybe it's a good virtue, I don't know, but if someone would like heckle, like I don't run from it. 25,000 people, no one hears this shithead right here.
Yeah,
but I do.
Yeah.
So I'd acknowledge it, and I'd get the camera guys would put him on the screen, so I could just deconstruct him, and the lawn does see it.
Yeah,
and just like that was the best. I mean, like,
did you kill?
It went great. Virginia Beach and North Carolina, I'll never forget, were 2 shows where just they weren't that interested, and I got like a core of people to laugh. But the other ones, I mean, like when I hit the pun, I mean, like 25,000. It wasn't all of them. Obviously,
I can't even imagine it. Yeah.
And what a feeling, man! It was really, it really is amazing. I mean, at the end of the day, I couldn't wait to get back to comedy clubs because I want to, like,
well, yeah, it's a whole different thing. I
want to talk to people. And I want to like be more intimate and like tell a personal story.
Could you imagine if you were doing the 2001 bit?
25,000 people.
Oh, man. That would have been... And then everybody communally yells the end, what the fuck?
Well, you come a long way, buddy. I'm glad things are going all right for you.
It is, man. I'm out here in L.A. in the garage.
Yeah.
One of the just coolest things I thought, you know, I listen to this podcast all the time, and,
Yeah.
you know, I've known you for some years now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm, you know, for what it's worth, I'm proud of you for what you've done here. And, and I thought one of the coolest like wording of something ever. I was like, you said, you're going to be in LA anytime soon? And I said, I'll be out there in 2 weeks. You go, hey man, come on out in the garage. I think that's the coolest way to put that. I thought that was so badass. I was excited to do it ever since, man. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah,
Thank
do you feel
much.
good about it?
Yeah, dude, this was great.
All right,
I
thanks,
can talk
Jay.
comedy with you for 4 more hours if you wanted.
Well, it's great seeing you, man.
Absolutely, brother.
Well, that's our show, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. Jay's got some good stories. Go see Jay whenever you can. Big Jay Oakerson. He's out there. He's got things on the internet. He's on Twitter. Do it. Thank you for listening. Oh, wait. Let's do this since I am drinking it. Yeah, I'm not always drinking, you know. Sometimes I'm doing it with water. Oh, it's a little behind the scenes for you. Pow! Look out. Just shit my pants. Boomer. Boomer. You got 2 seconds. Thank you for listening. Please go to WTFpod.com for all your WTF pod needs. Get on that mailing list. Kick in a few shekels. We still take donations. They are helpful. We are running a business here to some degree, as you know. If you have app problems, go to WTF@gmail.com. Drop me an email if you're having some issues with the new app or the upgrading of the new app. And please, check out the merch. Put a new poster in there. Are we okay? Are we good? Are we good? Boomy. I think that cat doesn't like me anymore.